Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Chris Stegall with MK Partners, joined once again by Matt Kaufman. Matt, thanks again for hopping on this today.
Happy to be here.
And today we are going to be talking about building a little redirect app or page or whatever you want to call it to take clicks, put them on a site that we have, redirect them to the site where we want them to go. But that way we don't lose any of that valuable engagement data about when people clicked, what's actually driving traffic, which links are effective, which are less so. And I think we're going to start by taking a look at the Salesforce tool that I think we've all sort of run into in our day in the life in the ecosystem that pops up every once in a while and says, here's a 5-second countdown. Salesforce is redirecting you. So let me get Matt's screen shared here. That's just me.
Thank you.
There we go.
Right. Yeah, so this is a screen that I see a lot. I'll often be either in the Salesforce partner community or on some type of, I don't know, help file, whatever it may be. And I'll click a link, and then you're presented with something like this that says, we're about to redirect you. You got 5 seconds to click one of these buttons or else it's going to explode. And so I've already clicked don't redirect so that we'd be able to stay on the screen while I'm talking here. And so it looks a little different than when you first get there. There is that countdown. In fact, let's just go ahead and do it. We'll live dangerously. So you can see here it's counting down 3, 2, and I'll quickly click it. There we go. And so now we can stay there. And if I didn't click it, it would have redirected us to this URL. And so this is similar to a lot of like URL shorteners that we're all familiar with that are out there. This one is, as far as we can tell, it looks very Salesforce-y and very like homegrown. I did a quick search on GitHub for URL shorteners, and you can see obviously Bitly is one that we're probably all familiar with. It's commercial, but there's a free tier, Tiny URL, and some of these other ones on here. These are, some of them are then down we get to the bottom where you could roll out your own, right? So these are the ones that are already existing and their services, and here are some that are self-hosting, which means that you could take this code base and then put it somewhere on AWS, GCP, Azure, Heroku maybe, and host it yourself. And most of them have like a lot of functionality to it, and so it's got a lot of code, which means it's harder to understand. If we go, I'm just going to pick one at random. Let's do this one. Looks like it's good. And let's see if we can find the repo. There we go. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here. I don't know what it all is. It looks like it's more than I want to read. And so I probably wouldn't roll this out, right? It says it's modern, it's powerful, robust. Most of the time, we really just want a way to have shorter URLs to put into like an email or a business card or something like that, and then be able to control it later. Whereas with some of the services, you can't always change it unless you're a paid customer. So we were looking at this one here that we land on all the time when we're clicking on Salesforce links. And I was like, gee, I wonder what this is. It's sfdc.co. Which I assume is owned by Salesforce. And so we were just going to try to take a look and figure out, well, what's behind this. And so when I open up my little developer console here that's built into Chrome, we can see what's behind the page. Now, there's a couple ways to interact with this. I can click this little thing here and actually like choose something, and it'll show me the HTML. And we can see there's not a lot of HTML on this page. So right away, I'm like, okay, this looks like something I might be able to understand. I can see that they're using Bootstrap, which is a way to make web pages look better. Basically, it's like a framework for user interface. I can see that it's using jQuery, which is another framework for kind of doing JavaScript on the page with some pre-built functions. I know I'm kind of minimizing the explanations there. But it really doesn't look like there's a lot on the page. So right away, it looks a little more attainable, right? Something that I could probably tackle. And if we come and look at it from some other perspectives, let's see if I can find it. Here we go, source. We can actually see what's everything that's in use on this page. And so here's the HTML for the page. And then there's a bunch of assets, some of which are JavaScript files, we can see there, and some of which are CSS, and then this logo. And I thought this logo was interesting when I looked at it. It's actually coming out better on your screen than mine. It says Salesforce Shrink, and Shrink is in white. And so this is the internal name for this app, this product, this feature, whatever you want to call it. It's Shrink. And as far as I can tell, it was built by someone at Salesforce. And if anyone watching the video at home knows who built it, send us a note. We'd love to talk to you about it and find out what was the inspiration and what was the process like to build it. So what I wanted to do was kind of like go through the motions of building one ourselves. We won't actually build it and publish it on this short call, but we probably could revisit it on a future video and see how much progress I can make in my spare time. So first thing I'm gonna do is just grab the HTML. So I'm just gonna copy this. Like I said, it's not a lot. You got 100 lines, fewer than 100 lines of code. So it's like, oh wow, I can actually look at this. And some of this we're not gonna need. So you can see here, this is for Google Analytics. Definitely don't need that on something that we're playing with. And then I'm gonna use CodePen. So CodePen.io, no affiliation, but it's a great site that I use when I'm often trying to figure things out and I just need a place to figure it out. And essentially what this is like running a little mini web server on their website where I can paste in some HTML, paste in some JavaScript, some CSS, and it shows up. And so this is what it looks like. You can see the page is showing up down here on the bottom. And I'm just going to start getting rid of things that I actually don't need. And we'll see how few lines of code we can get this to. And if we weren't interested in making it look good, we could actually have even less code on here. So that's an option too. Definitely I want to take out the stuff for Google Analytics. I'm going to come down somewhere down here. Here we go. And take this stuff out because I don't want that to interfere with the real Google Analytics that they're collecting on their page. And you can see it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And we're like way below 100 lines now. And there's still more that I can take out, right? So it keeps getting smaller, which is great. So we're probably, after all is said and done, it's probably 50 lines of HTML, maybe even less. And so, that's something that I could work with. Sure, it's not going to be that hard. We could probably take out the image because this is not Salesforce anymore. This is mine. And every time I make a change, what you'll see is when I hit save, it changes. So there we go. It already changed, right? That changed. I might have taken out too much there. There we go. Do it one more time. Yep. Okay. So this is a great tool that I love to use. Now, we can take the CSS too if we want to. So we come back here, and we can see there's a couple different CSS files. This URI CSS, I think, is the main one. Although I guess there's this confirm one. Oh, that's JavaScript. Oh, this is JavaScript too. Where'd the CSS go? Here we go, main.css, of course. So I'll copy that, and I'm going to put it in here. And then what I'll do is I'll take it out from up here. You can see main. And it should end up looking the same because this site, CodePen, will reference the CSS here. And then we can do the same thing with JavaScript too if we want to. So I don't need to look at that CSS anymore. Now, if we want to, we could take out Bootstrap. It's going to change the look. It won't look as good. Watch what happens when I take out Bootstrap. I'll cut it out. And see, now it's like, oh, yes, this is very HTML looking. So that's what Bootstrap does. It helps make websites look better. But if you don't want to use that framework, you don't have to. And we can just use this. And we can also style these ourselves. We don't have to load all of Bootstrap just to make a couple buttons look good. That kind of is overkill. I'll go ahead and put it back just because it's nice to look at. But if I were to rebuild this, I probably wouldn't use Bootstrap for something that was just 3 buttons. I probably would just style it myself. So let's go take a look at some of the JavaScript maybe behind this. Sorry. So I think it's main.js. No, it might be URI.js or confirm2.js. So we got to figure out what's going on here. And so we can see what's inside each of these JavaScript files. We can see that because it's not minified, which would like condense it to the point where it's really not readable by a human. Usually when something's minified, you'll see here like jQuery .min, and bootstrap.min. Let's click on one of those and you'll see it's like, see how it's everything is, instead of having a name, it's just like a letter. It makes it a lot harder to read and determine what's going on and why is it the way it is. Which is also just like a best practice. If you're going to write code that you want to be readable, use words that are meaningful and don't just put random characters there, because it does make it a lot harder to read. So looking at this, I'm going to zoom in because I know this is really small. There we go. Now this is a whole app that we're looking at here, and I'm pretty sure that the main.js is actually for the internal side of things, not for the consumer, the external, like you and me. And the reason I say that is because if you look, there's a function here for delete, which obviously me as someone who clicks on a link shouldn't be able to do, right? And edit as well, and get all stats and things like that. Now, for the purpose of education and entertainment only, I'm going to go ahead and do something that will show us maybe what this internal page kind of looks like. Okay, entertainment and education only. We are not trying to get into this system. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, just any of these little paths here that are available, and I'm going to go ahead and put it right there at the top. Oh, look at that. Action not implemented yet. Totally different site, right? But this is that website. It's just this is something that is apparently not implemented. I think delete, no. What was it? Oh, it was delete with a full. Okay, let's see if we can do that. There we go. Okay, so I went to a URL that was really for internal people only. And here you can see it's actually trying to get us to log in now. So it's secure. This is, I can't log into this. I don't have an employee access to this. Let's go ahead and try another one. Let's try edit. So you can see here URL/edit. We'll try that. Oh, that one didn't seem to work. Interesting. Maybe we need to pass in some stuff. What about like get all stats? Let's do that. Again, entertainment and education only. There we go. Yeah. Okay. So this is the page I was looking for. So it's kind of interesting. You can see it says sign in with your account to access Shrink. So they call this Shrink internally, and you need a valid Salesforce credential to do so. Not just a Salesforce user credential, but an employee of Salesforce credential, which I don't have. So we're going to stop there and not try to get into the site again. That was just to kind of show the look and feel. It is a very Salesforce-y look and feel. You can see it's kind of trailhead looking, which is kind of cool. Let's come back to here, where we were just exploring, and look at some of the JavaScript again. So this URI.js, this is a library that is being used. So this is not written by Salesforce, as far as I can tell. It's not really the key functionality that we're going to need. This is just some useful helper, let's call it, like a helper function to better handle URLs, which makes sense because that's what this is. It's a URL shortening tool. Analytics.js, that has to do with gathering analytics about who's using the site. We're going to skip past that. Bootstrap, I mentioned earlier, that's for look and feel. So let's go look at this confirm too. Okay, so now this one looks pretty good. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, come here and paste it in here. And then we can take a look at it. And I'll zoom in a little here as well. Okay, so we can see this is definitely related to what we're doing on the page. So we have time until redirect, and we have redirect timer. So so what I want to do, the name of that file again was confirm_2. I'm gonna, on the left hand side here, I'm gonna go ahead and look for where this is used. Oop, and I'm gonna take it away. Let's see if I can do it. There we go. And so now we're using this version of it over here on the right-hand side. And look at that, it's moving. Don't redirect. Okay, I'm just curious, if we were to set this to 50, and hit save. Let's see what happens. No, oh, look at that. Okay, so we could set this to a high enough number. Uh-oh, I just realized this here says 5,000, which 5,000 is 5 seconds. So this is in milliseconds.
Is that why it started showing 5 and then counted down from 49? Is that
Possibly,
starting
yeah.
number,
So ideally, what this would be here, if I were to write this out myself, I would say this times 1,000, right? And that way, that one constant is gonna be what we need. There we go. Okay, that looks better. And so now we have I mean, essentially, we've just built a countdown app, right? Even if we do no redirect, it's a countdown app. And so my guess is when I hit don't redirect, it's calling this function here. And what we can actually do is do something like this, console.log you called stop redirect, right? Let's just take that. There we go. And so let's go ahead and hit save, and we'll launch this again, reload it. And then what I'm going to do is pull up this console here and clear it. Okay, and now when I hit this, look at that. You called stop redirect. And so this is kind of how I go through the process of figuring out how is an app built, what's working and what's not working, and what does each thing do. It definitely is easier to do this type of process, to kind of like reverse engineer something in an entertaining and educational way when the code is server side. In this case, it is server side code, it's JavaScript. And so we can see the code. I don't have to like hack into a server to see the code. It's right there in the page itself, which is what we were looking at here. All of these assets are loaded on the page when we went to that URL. And so I'm able to take it and start playing with it and try to change stuff if I wanted to. And so we can keep looking at some of this stuff. So here's the redirect function. This is, my guess, called at the end of the 5 seconds, right? Now here's a set cookie, and I was curious. I'm like, why is there a cookie on this page? But I realized this here must be calling set cookie, right? Because we're going to continue and never ask again. And how would we never ask again unless we somehow had something we could reference? Yeah. What we can actually do, I know that the screen's kind of getting crazy here. What we could do is look for these buttons over here on the left-hand side and see what they're actually calling. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll kind of get this halvesies here. So let's look for continue. Continue and never ask again. It's running all, okay, so it doesn't actually say what it's running, which means somewhere on the page, when the page was loaded, it separately said, hey, when always skip is called, go ahead and do something. So we can look over here. There we go, always skip. It's already there. And you can see, yes, it is setting set cookie. It's a 365-day cookie. And luckily, it doesn't seem to be doing a lot. So all it's really doing is setting a cookie that says, you know, skip for 365 days. And so that's good. We don't want cookies that are storing a lot of information. That would not be good. So I feel fairly safe about this cookie situation here. But we can see, okay, so let's look at the redirect one, right? So there was don't redirect, there was always skip, and if we look up here, there was continue. Let's see if we can find what continue. Okay, so continue is going to call this redirect function. Let's just expand this a little and make this a little. So let's see if we can find redirect. There it is. Okay, so what redirect's doing is it's getting the query string, which is the URL at the top, and it then passes that URL, which in this case is this word, right? So it's not even a URL. It's just looking for the word after the .co, and it passes that to a web service on the same server. So /URL, and then question mark query string. Looks like this here $short URL text. Let's see what Oh, I see what that is. Okay. It passes the query strings and then short URL. Okay. So if we were to, let's do an experiment. If we were to take this exact same URL that we have at the top, which I know is kind of hard to read, and inject /URL before it, we should immediately be redirected. And that worked. And now I'm being redirected to whatever it was. It's just a PDF or something. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So that's what this is doing. It's saying, go get the URL, the path, the word, whatever the the little word that's at the end. Put it after this word, which is /URL. And then if there were any query strings that were passed along, go ahead and pass that as well. And so that's what it's doing. So this is like a super simple, really easy web app, that someone has built. And we can actually take out stuff if we wanted to, since there is stuff in here that we probably don't even need. It could be, you see, it's fewer than 100 lines of JavaScript, fewer than 100 lines of HTML. And it's got this really kind of powerful functionality. Now, we're not looking at the /URL functionality, which we can also look at, but that's the part that actually correlates the short URL to the long URL. And that's going to be probably this. Oh, where'd it go? Let me do this one more time. Main.js, yeah. So this is the one that probably does that correlation, and it must talk to a server, to a database, to figure out, okay, what corresponds one to the other, right? Because we don't have a list here that says here are all the short URLs that are available,
right,
and all the long URLs. So it must be in a database, and there's some code that's on the client side to talk to that. There's some code server side to talk to that too. If we didn't want to implement a database, we could do something like that right here in our code. We could do something, I'm going to do it at the very, well, let's do it at the top for now. What if we had something like this, where we said URL map equals, and we could do something like this, where we say AAA Okay, just something simple like that, and we could have a long list that keeps going on forever if we wanted to, right? I just don't want to spend the time to do that. And then down here, what we would do is, okay, let equals, and we'll say URL map square bracket, something like that. I don't think this is going to end up actually running. And then we would take away this part here. And this could definitely be done better. And so this is essentially what's going on behind the scenes. We would translate one to the other. I think that would work. Something like that. We'd have to implement it also to make sure that the part down here shows the right URL, which right now I'm not doing, but we could do that too. And so again, I'm pretty confident, very little code total to make this work. And there's all sorts of other cool stuff you can do with this. You could have, I thought it would be cool, instead of having a white page, wouldn't it be cool if it was something that really engaged you, that either had an image that was welcoming you, or curtain opens, or some movement, some little more oomph to it, a little more pictures would be kind of neat. The other thing you could do if you want to get really clever is have rotating images, so it's different every time you go, and that way people will go back and visit your links more often because they want to see what's next. A couple of years back, we wrote a joke a day app, right? And every day you get a different joke. It was like dad jokes. And that would be a cool use of something like this too. while you're waiting these 5 seconds, here's a good joke.
Yeah. I
You
like the curtain idea a lot, but at the start of this call, when you said like the countdown was like the bomb timer, I'm imagining one where it loads wires in a random pattern, and it's like, oh, do you want to not redirect? Cut the red wire.
Right, you got to go and click on the red wire.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be funny too. I mean, I think most people want to redirect.
Yeah.
I don't know why you wouldn't. Right? If you clicked on a link to initially redirect, this is a nice to have. They don't have to do this. Most websites you would just automatically redirect, but for some reason they give you this extra out. If you accidentally don't want to click it, you made a mistake. You don't want to click it, but I think most of us are just like, okay, no, let's move on. I clicked this for a reason.
Yeah.
So having some entertainment there, I think, would be a cool idea. That like, okay, yeah, I got a little something out of clicking that link.
Yeah.
And it's positive feedback, right? So like, if these were links that were in an email, that were like sending out marketing emails, people will click the link, even if they didn't want to see the content on the other side of the link, just to experience the fun aspect of our URL shortener.
Yeah.
Which would be kind of funny, because then in a way you're actually like hurting your metrics by like, oh, we got 100% click through. So it's like, no, people actually didn't care about that at all. They just love our URL shortener so much. You can have seasonal aspects, all sorts of stuff. If you did more with the cookie, you could even like, personalize it to some extent, if you wanted to. I know you like to move on in 3 seconds, so I'll have your countdown start at 3, but someone else likes 10 seconds, so I'll keep it 10. You could do all sorts of stuff. You could say, hi Matt, I'm about to take you there.
Yeah.
So you could do a lot of cool stuff, but it's nice that very little code, like I said, it's basically like 100 lines and 100 lines, can be like so effective at something that we use every day.
Yeah. In terms of the cookie, this is
Yeah.
like not super related to what we're doing today, but something I'm curious about that I could probably Google. We looked at the cookie that they were doing, and it was 365. So it's like, it's not gonna just click here if you never want this again, but really it's just gonna stop it for a year. But so that cookie is then saved in my browser. Is there a way for me to go into my browser's cookies and edit that 365 to something that would make it forever? Can I edit the cookies on my computer?
You could. Yeah, you could. That's true. So it's just a text file. And you could go view the cookie and then edit it. That's interesting. Now, I don't think I've actually said continue and never.
Yeah, you would miss the screen.
Right.
I have a hard time making this call.
But you can see here, well, so here's a cookie, but I believe this cookie is actually related to analytics. That's what this _GA is.
Yeah.
And this J session might be related to something else. I'm not sure. Maybe JavaScript or something like that, or jQuery. So, okay, so let's do it. Let's go ahead. It's going to be tricky to do, right? Let's go ahead. I'm going to come here. I'm going to say continue and never ask again. And look, do you see it? It was there for a second.
Popped up.
And I'm never going to be able to get there again now, without looking at the cookies. But it basically was there, and it said, it was like an extra little one that said skip. Let's see if we, okay, now here's what I can do. I can do this. No, that didn't do it either. What about, okay, if we do the URL? Basically, I need to get back to the web page, and in a way that, here it is. Skip confirm. So now we're looking at, again, education and entertainment only. So now we're looking at the web page, at the domain, and we can see all the cookies that are stored for this domain. And so we can see skip confirm equals true. We can see the path. Let's see if we can see here's the expiration right here. Let's see if I can get there. I could come here and edit that. And so actually, watch this. If I come here and I edit it, and I change it to 2023 in the past, right? Now when I come back to it, I'm back here.
Nice.
And actually, because the expiration was in the past, the cookie's gone. Let's do it one more time. So I'm going to do continue and never ask again. And then I'm going to have to get back to the web page, and it's there again. And the URL should be, the date should be now a year from today, basically. Let's see if I can get this. Yeah, so it's today is November 7th, November 8th for actually, so it's 365 days. So it's a year from now. So those of you watching at home, you know when we recorded this, November 8th. You can tell what time even approximately. And so this is 365 days from now, give or take. It looks like it is in GMT. And so I could come in here and say, you know what, I just want this for the next day. So I'll change this to the 9th and change this to the 2023. And now this cookie will continue to work for a day, and then it'll expire automatically and just disappear. So that's kind of neat too. You could do that. So yeah, if you're the kind of person like, I never want to see this countdown ever again. I'm tired of losing 5 seconds of my life, multiple times a day. Yeah. You could come in here and do something crazy. I mean, it's not really crazy, but make it 2028. Right? Oh, it didn't even work. I wonder if there may be a maximum. Look at that. There is a maximum. It automatically set it to 2024 December 12th. I wonder if we can set it to December 31st. No. So there is a maximum for cookies anyway, it looks like, that the browser allows. So I'd have to come in here, once every year or so to extend it. And at that point, you might as well just click the button.
Yeah.
Yeah. And feel free to leave comments if you're aware of some deadline. I know a lot of things are changing in the world of cookies. So that could be it.
Yeah. I was just looking up, and it seems like there's no GDPR requirement. And I feel like that's usually the most strict.
Well, so there's no information about me being stored here. That's the key. So this is not really an intrusive cookie. And usually when we're talking about GDPR or anything like that, we're talking about people's information. And so all we're saying here is it's a cookie having to do with like a personal setting on the website, and it's only for this website. What this is exposing in terms of security, well, people know that I went to a link, and that link had something to do with Salesforce. That's about it. So it's not too concerning. That's all you could get by looking at my cookies in this case. Now, I guess you could tell when I went there last, right? So, I mean, you could definitely write some type of mystery novel where, I say that I was in, a deserted island with no internet on a certain day and time, so I couldn't have committed the crime. But then you find this cookie here from sfdc.co, and the expiration date is exactly 12 months from the date that I said I was on the deserted island. Something fishy was going on, right? How did that happen?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I could have gone in there and updated it myself, or my nemesis hacked into my computer and updated the cookie and framed me for the crime, something like that. But in general, like a cookie like this is pretty safe because it doesn't have any real information about me. It doesn't even list the URL that I last went to. Yeah. Which again would be most of the SFDC co URLs are totally safe for work, but something that like a bit.ly or something like that, the URL may not be. And so this is really simple code. It's really minimal cookie. Just to provide some nice to have functionality there. So I like this, that it's so easy to understand and so easy to implement if we wanted to do it so ourselves.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for walking us through that.
Yeah, happy to do so.
Yeah, I'm excited to get our own built. Because
I hope that we record another video soon where I can show it to you.
Yeah. I forgot to mention during the intro, this was functionality that existed in Pardot for a long time. Now, Marketing Cloud account engagement. Not exactly with like the redirect screens, but with the ability to say, hey, I want to create a custom URL so I can print it on a flyer. But then sometimes I'm going to go to an event where I want this PDF to be the result of that click. But oh no, the laws changed, or it's a new year. I need to update that flyer. So now I can update the destination of the redirect without having to print all new flyers. Which is
right. And from an environmental perspective, that's like really important. I always feel bad at the end of events when we either have leftover flyers or postcards or whatever that we were handing out. And it's like, if they have a date on it or an event name on it that we're at, it's like, what are we going to do with these now?
Yeah.
You just recycle them. That's it. What a waste. But if you could design your materials that you're handing out to be non-date specific, non-event specific, then you can use them for longer periods of time. And you could, still have a URL on there to track the engagement, but you change where that URL goes as you move forward in time.
Yeah.
So I like these little tools that, kind of do our part to save the earth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. And I learned something new about cookies today that I will only use for fun and education.
Well, yes, exactly. All this talk about cookies is making me hungry. So
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks once again, Matt, for joining us. Thank you all for watching. Please do be sure to like and subscribe. Comment below, as Matt said, if you know who helped build or built Salesforce Shrink. We would love to have them jump on a call to talk through it, because it's one of those things that you sort of take for granted after a few years in the Salesforce ecosystem. But I think we have all landed on those pages several times, and it's fun to think about how they got there in the first place.
yeah.
And until next time, keep working hard, smart, and happy. We'll see you in the cloud. And thanks again.